Welcome back to World of Warships, Episode 5. In this series, I, Mike Benitez, talk about the many ships of World of Warships, the video game, and talk about how you can captain these mighty girls. And what ship we'll be talking about today? You Russian fans better get ready, because today's episode will be about a Russian battleship. Recently, Wargaming is adding many Russian battleships into World of Warships, and one of them is a battleship that was never actually completed, but now she's alive in World of Warships. Today, we'll be talking about Lenin. But first, let's get some backstory on Lenin. The 1920s and the 1930s. Soviet Russia was trying to build a new class of battleship to rival many of Britain's and America's battleships. However, thanks to the Washington Naval Treaty, their battleship was not supposed to weigh more than 35,000 tons, and was to have a limited amount of weaponry. This was made in the case of the Americans didn't want any other country to have more power than the other, and wanted all nations to have equal power. So, in the case of Russia, Russia decided to build a battleship that would be exactly 35,000 tons. Further development of this went on in the 1930s. Project 21, as it was called, was designed to build a new, fast battleship. However, this battleship wasn't actually revolutionary in its own design. Project 21's design was supposed to be based off the Nelson class of the British Royal Navy, that being HMS Nelson and her sister ship HMS Rodney. Project 21 was said to look like Nelson, however, be a bit more Russian-style design. I am sorry to say, however, that Project 21 was never actually completed due to the Russians not getting enough funding for the battleship, and so they had to scrap the idea of Project 21 and move on to other ships. However, it was not over yet. Recently, World of Warships, technically Wargaming, had said that they were adding a bunch of Russian ships into World of Warships, and one will be based off that of the Project 21 design. What would they name this battleship? This battleship will be named Lenin, named after the town of Leningrad. Now let's begin how you can play Lenin in World of Warships, and what to expect from this new baby. First off, you should not mistake Lenin for Leningrad, as there is an actual ship in the game called Leningrad. That being a Tier 7 destroyer and not a Tier 8 battleship. So it's safe to say, do not mistake Leningrad for Lenin. Lenin is the first ever Russian premium Tier 8 warship in World of Warships, and the sixth warship with the design of all forward guns on the bow, which I'll get to in a minute. As with that, Lenin fills nicely a gap between two ships, Tier 7's HMS Nelson and Tier 9's Izumo of Japan. Lenin has similarities, flaws, and playstyles, just as Nelson and Izumo. Captains who have played on Izumo or Nelson will be quite comfortable on board Lenin. However, she is a Russian battleship. Russians do not follow any British way or Japanese way. However, more people who played Nelson would play Lenin with some experience, judging that both Nelson and Lenin have the same design, even despite that being from different countries. Lenin is designed with 9 406mm guns in 3 turrets, all located in the bow section, just like Nelson. However, unlike Nelson, Lenin has some pretty good ranges and can fire her guns in excellent angles. But I'll get to that when I cover the pros of Lenin. As protection goes, Lenin has the normal 32 millimeter plating. However, she has a very strong midsection. She has a 50 millimeter upper belt and a 45 millimeter deck. She also has a 100 millimeter strip of armor along the waterline. However, she has upper plate citadel. So, if I were you, as Lenin, I would not want to be fighting enemy battleships unless you know what you're doing. Next, Lenin has the speed of a high-speed battleship. That means that whenever you're under attack, you can speed away from the enemy battleship. The Project 21 was specifically designed with this kind of power, and you can find this on Lenin. Overall, Lenin is a formidable battleship among Tier 8. She has perfect armament and perfect armament to keep her alive for quite some time, and she has perfect weaponry in her setup and fast turret speed. Now, let's get on with the pros of Lenin. First of all, of her pros, her 360 degree turret movement can make her very flexible than other battleships her design, such as Nelson and Jean Bart. Also, thanks to her design, Lenin can fire at nearly every angle possible. She can even fire 27 degrees out the bow. She has a superb gun handling with a transverse of 6 degrees per second. Lenin is also reasonably stealthy. She has a minimum concealment of 13.1 kilometers. If you manage her fire control, her damage control, fast recharging damage system, that means you won't take a full fire duration if you manage it properly. This will save Lenin from going to Davy Jones's locker. Her 100 millimeter icebreaker bow makes it really easy to mitigate overmatching blows from Yamato and Musashi. She is resistant to HE shells, which means that she can take any HE shell damage from her thick upper deck and midsection plating. However, she does have some cons. Her penetration is pretty low for a battleship, even lower than that of Tier 7's Nagato and Tier 6's West Virginia. Lenin's anti-aircraft weaponry leaves much to be desired, so it pretty much means don't go playing off with Tier 10 carrier planes, or that you're pretty much screwed. Another one of Lenin's cons is her actual design. Thanks to her design, with having all three guns on her bow and nothing on her stern section, this means that if not properly angled, you will be pretty much hit by severe shots. And if the armor gets pelted away by let's say destroyers or cruisers, then it's okay. But when you're facing a battleship, well, you better make sure your Lenin is placed at a proper angle, or else you're gonna end up like HMS Hood did in the Battle of the Denmark Strait. And the last of her cons, if you utilize improperly the damage control party, you'll run out of it. So use it properly. So basically, there are several things you need to do when facing Lenin, or being Lenin for that matter. However, just remember, she's basically like Nelson, just a Russian version of her. Lenin is equipped with many flags, including India Delta and India Yankee, which can help the battleship survive more and give her more power. However, I have a good idea of how to be Lenin and how not to get sunk. I'll get to that in a minute. However, key marksmanship is not an actual thing in Lenin, so you don't have to worry about not getting your shots properly. But here's a good thing in mind. do not get close to destroyers. Destroyers are armed with torpedoes, and if you're too close, and they spread torpedoes to a wide spread. So if you enter a widespread torpedo range, you better hope you're in long range, because if not, you're not gonna have enough time to maneuver, and the torpedoes will hit you, and you'll be sunk. If you want to find a battleship of competition and overall comfortable, you'll find it safe in Lenin. However, I know a good way how to survive a good battle in World of Warships. So, how do you start off a battle? Well, if I were Lenin, I would stay well back against many other bigger ships, such as 10 ships like Grosser Kurfürst, Yamato, Iowa, Montana, those kind of ships. I would stay close to them as you are overall protective. However, remember what I said earlier about the anti-aircraft weaponry, so make sure you're not standing against tier 10 aircraft carriers, and more like lower, like tier 6, tier 7, tier 8 for that matter, and make sure. And you can even help your enemy ships take down enemy aircraft. And also, due to her speed, you can use Lenin at any point during the battle to move into a position where you wouldn't get attacked, like behind an island and snipe. However, she is more preferred to actually sail into a close combat situation. And another thing in mind, remember what I said, Lenin can fire properly if angled properly. So make sure you're at the right angle, or else your armor citadel will be exposed and you'll be sunk. If this ever happens, however, make sure that's just destroyers pelting off you, because the destroyer shells, well, they do not have that much effect as our cruisers, light cruisers only. However, if you're standing against a battleship, let's just say the biggest battleship in the game, Grosser Kurfürst, there are two ways to handle Grosser Kurfürst, Fronted to Grosser, Bismarck, Tirpitz, or whatever battleship you're against. There are two ways of doing this. The coward way, or my way. What's the coward way? Well, the coward way is basically running away from the enemy battleship and go picking up some cruiser like the Des Moines or something. However, my way is to fight to the last shell. Fight to the last shell, and just think of who could win. However, Grosser Kurfürst is known for her secondary, so it wouldn't be much of a difference. However, in the case of Kurfürst, she is sluggish and slow. Lenin, she is fast. So, you can get away from Kurfürst or any other sluggish battleship before you can be destroyed. Just make sure you're you're at a proper angle, and you'll be fine. And what do I do at the end of the battle when you're the only ship left in your team? Fight it out. Even though you may get damaged, I would not back down from a good fight. And in the case of Lenin, she'll be a Russian princess bringing a tad of firepower to the match, and she would not be a girl of backing down. So if I were you, fire until the last shell, and just wait for the outcome. You may die, or you will end up victorious. And thanks to her 9 406mm guns, you can literally attack any ship of your desire. Just make sure, if you're facing a battleship, make sure you're not facing the Grosser Kurfürst. I will get to her in another video, in another episode of World of Warships. Another fun fact I should point out, though, is that Lenin is one of several Russian battleships including into the game as of right now. World Gaming announced that they were going to be adding a whole bunch of new Russian battleships into this game. I don't know why they're focusing on the Russian battleships, but hey, I'm not World Gaming, so I don't know what their plans are. But if you were Lenin, make sure you're with friendly ships, and you'll be all right. However, make sure you're not plowing into a ship head-on, because if you're facing the enemy battleship that direction, your guns will be easily taken out, because your guns are on the bow section. But make sure you're at a proper angle and fire away. Lenin will not be stopped. She's a beast, and when awakened, she can put ultimate damage on any battleship, cruiser, or destroyer, or even aircraft carriers. It will be much fun playing as Lenin, because you'll get to know what it's like to be on a battleship that has all her guns in the bow section. But remember what I said? And you'll be okay. But remember what I said earlier. Lenin is at tier 8. She is not the most powerful battleship in the game, nor is at tier 8. However, she's a battleship of pure strength, power, and intelligence, if you know what I mean. So, just be careful playing as Lenin, and you'll be fine. I salute you, captains! Playing as the newest battleship in World of Warships, the Russian-Soviet battleship of Project 21 that was never completed, and now she is actually in the game. I salute you, captains, and wish you good luck as playing as the newest warship in World of Warships, the Russian battleship Lenin. Have fun playing at Lenin, and you'll be fine. I salute you, captains.